Well, anyways, guys, I'll let you pick 1, 2, or 3. Which box do you want me to open for this pack war? You tell me bottom, middle, or top. And hopefully you guys agree upon it. Alright, guys. So to show you first who is in the pack war, get that out of the way. We got Spooner 9-ball, Kurt's Cards for You, S. Nobles, $2 bill, 6008 KR, and Gallinator. Pack war number 1. So here we go. Best of luck, everybody. Let the pack wars begin. So for the first row, we'll open up Spooner balls. So first of all, I'll just show the cards. So Clint Windsor, Peyton Lee, Etienne Marcoux, hope it says his name right, J.P. Anderson, the decoy. We have a Decades 1980s of Ron Hextall, Decade 1980s of Corrado McAuliffe, Decades 1990s of Chris Terreri, and Decades 1980s of Kelly Broody. So it's the highest number. So this one's 142. Ron Hextall, 142. Kurt's Cards. Should put the decoy back here. We have Taryn Kuzin. Stars of the Game of Henrik Lundqvist. Stars of the Game of Kari Lettman. CHL Prospects of Christopher Gibson. The decoy. Decades 1970s of Gary Innes. Decades 1990s of Mike Richter. Decades 1980s of Richard Brodeur. And Decades 1980s of Alan Bester. This is the highest number. Is Gary Innes of 147. Highest number base card 147 and Gary Innes. Clear the lead so far, Kurt. S. Nobles pack. We have a CHL prospects of Devin Williams. Stars of the game of Thomas Vokoun. We have a Mackenzie Skepiski. Jacob Blair. The decoy. Decades 1990s of Dan Kluche. Decade 1980s of Glenn Hamlin. Decade 1970s of Vyacheslav Tretiak. And decade 1950s of Jacques Plante. This is the highest base card. And that one, Jacques Plante, 168. So as Nobles, you have the highest base card so far in this round. Moving on to $2 bills pack. You have a card Patrick Polovica. Storm Phaneuf. Sebastian Auger. Stars of the game of Ilya Brizgalov. There's the first hit to Maskman 5 of Rick DiPietro. And the decoy. We have a Record Breakers card of Ron Tugnut. Decade 1960s of Charlie Hodge. And a Record Breakers card of Grant Fuhr. There we go. 1 second, guys. So $2 bill just moved up. Ron Tugnut. Ron Tugnut. I think that's going to be hard to beat. $6,008 KR, this is your pack. So you have Jackson Whistle. Stars of the game, Marc-Andre Fleury. Etu Lorikainen. And Oscar Dansk. And the decoy. We have international stars of Mike Richter. He just moved up. Mike Palmateer, decade 1970s. We have a Record Breakers of Alec Connell. And a decade 1930s of Charlie Gardner. So 6,008 KR, just got 197. Mike Richter. So he's taking the lead. The last pack from Gallinator. Decade 1990s of Archer Zerbe. Ty Rimmer, Brandon Hope. We have a hit, decade 1980s autograph card of Corrado McAuliffe. Decade 1960s of Johnny Bauer. Decade 1990s of Sean Burke. Decade 1990s of Jim Carrey. And decade 1970s of Bernie Perrant. So 6,008 KR. He had the highest ever base card. So this round is yours. There we go. Round number 2. So Spooner 9 ball is your pack. For round 2. Spencer Martin. Christopher Festarini. Francois Tremblay. Matthias Niederberger. A lovely decoy. Decade 1930s of Roy Waters. International stars of Rogie Vachon. Decade 1970s of Gilles Meloche. Decade 1990s of Byron Dafoe. So highest ever base card, 193, Rogie Vachon. The Spooner ball, you're in the lead. You're the only guy to open a pack. Kurt's cards, pack number 2 of round 2. You got top 193. Yeah, Matt Murray. Zachary. I don't want to say Fugali. Philippe DeRosers. Yeah, started the game with Jimmy Howard. The decoy. Decade 1980s of Gary Syrah. Decade 1970s of Gilles Gilbert. Decade 1990s of John Van Beesbrook. And we have a decade 1980s of Patrick Waugh. So your highest ever base card is 149. The Spooner ball is still in the lead. That's Nobles, your pack. Dominic Graham. Michael Gouvoyaz. Some of these names, Carey Price. Joel Villano. Decoy. Decade 1980s of Billy Smith. Decades 1990s of Ed Belfour. Decade 1990s of Ron Tugnut. And then decade 1980s of Jim Craig. Your highest number base card. There you go. 131. Spooner ball still in the lead. Get $2 bill up next. Got Daniel Altshuler. Whitney. Malcolm Subban. Got a Massman 5s of Damian Rhodes. The decoy. Decade 1970s of Gilles Gratton. Decade 1950s of Gump Worsley. We have a record breakers of Dominic Hasek. And a decade 1960s of Cesar Manego. Gosh. So our bigger highest number base card is 189. Doesn't beat 193. So Spooner Ball, you're still in the lead. $6,008 KR, your pack, round 2. Andrei Makarov, Kochevalde, Robin Goosey, start of the game, Jonathan Quick. We have our Between the Pipes Draft Day jersey card. We got Gilles Meloche and Billy Smith. Nice hits. We have record breakers of Glenn Hall. International stars of Dominic Hasek. Decade 1970s of Rogie Vachon. And international stars of Roberto Luongo. Well, 6,008 KR, base card number 200. He's got this round probably locked up too. Okay, last pack, Gallinator. Louis-Philippe Gaudin. We got Andrew D'Agostini. Stars of the game, Roberto Luongo. John Gibson. Got an autograph to CHL prospects of Kevin Bailey. Decoy. Record breakers of Sam Lopresti. Decade 1960s of Roger Cozier. Decade 1940s of Turk Broda. So Gallinator, your highest number card was 188. So 6,008 KR. You take this round as well. Lucky guy. Last row of packs. So here we go. Spooner Ball. First pack of round 3. Got Maxime Legacy. Stars of the game of Brian Elliott. Alex Bureau. Jacob Brennan. The decoy. Got a record breakers of Henrik Lundqvist. Decade 1960s of Ed Giacomin. Decade 1930s of Tiny Thompson. The decade 1970s of Gilles Villemure. So Spinner Ball, your highest number base card. 185. So 185. Kurt's cards, you're up. Pack 2, round 3. Start of the game, Brian Elliott, Marvin Cooper, Garrett Sparks, Patrick Bartosak, the decoy. International stars of Tony Esposito. Decades 1930s of Lauren Chabot. Decade 1990s of Garth Snow. And decade 1970s of Doug Favell. There you go. 192, Tony Esposito. That puts in the lead, Kurt. Pack 3. Here you go, S. Nobles. Stars of the game, Rick DiPietro, Tristan Jarry, Brendan Burke. Stars of the game, Evgeny Nabokov. You have a game used jersey of Daniel Altshuler. Decade 1980s of Don Beaupre. Decade 1990s of Craig Billington. Decade 1980s of Michelle Dion. And a decade 1970s of Gary Bromley. Well, that was your highest number base card, 146. Kurt, you're still in the lead. $2 bill. Alex DeBow. Mac Engel. Eric Comrie. We got Philippe Cataret. Massman 5 of Kirk McLean. Got the decoy. Decade 1990s of Olaf Kolzig. Decade 1980s of Richard Sevgeny. And a decade 1990s of Wendell Young. $2 bill, your highest base card. Richard Sevigny. 140. Kurt, you're still there. With 2 packs left. 6,008 KR. Brandon Glover. Yaroslav Pavelka. Matt Hewitt. Stars of the game, Nikolai Habibulin. And the decoy. Decade 1990s of Damian Rhodes. Decade 1940s of Emile Francis. Record breakers of George Hansworth. And international stars of Jim Craig. There we go. 194, 6,008 KR. Takes the lead. And here's Gallinator hoping to pull off the last round victory. So we got Lawrence, Broziot, Matt Mahalik, Stars of the game, Corey Crawford. You got CHL Prospects auto of Philippe Cataretz. The decoy. Decade 1970s of Ron Graham. Decade 1940s of Chuck Rayner. Got International Stars of Henrik Lundqvist. And Decade 1960s of Glenn Hall. The Gallinator. Right off the end. 199. The last round goes to you. Highest number base card. Henrik Lundqvist, 199. So there we go. Thank you, guys.